All right, here is our section 6.1, which is talking about the set of rational numbers. So for this section, we're going to talk all about rational numbers. Now I want you just to think of the word rational and look at the very first part of that word. So looking at the very first part of that word, don't you see the word ratio there? And ratio is written as a fraction. We always say, um, you know, um, 2 to 5 or something like that. Well, you could also write a ratio as this way, 2 to 5, or you could write it as 2 and then the word 2, 5. But this is the preferred way of writing ratios. So really, a rational number is anything that can be written in the form of a fraction. Now, there are two basic types of fractions. We have our proper fractions, and then we have our improper fractions. Now, proper fractions are always less than, oh, and I put 0 there, I shouldn't have, less than 1. Sorry about that. Those that are less than 1. We want to make that adjustment. I don't know where my head was when I was typing that. So those are where the numerator is smaller than the denominator. So for instance, would be something like 1/2 or 5/18. Improper fractions are always equal to 1 or bigger. So in that case, we're looking at fractions where the numerator is the same as the denominator. In that case, it would be a 1. For instance, this 7 over 7 is really just a big old 1. So that could be the case, or the numerator is larger than the denominator, which would mean that we would have more than 1. So a fraction is just another way of writing a division problem. So we could, for instance, say, oops, didn't mean for that to pop up here. Let me get rid of that really quickly. Um, the A fraction is just another way of writing a division problem. So for instance, we could say, 6 over 3 or 6/3 equals 2. This also means 6 divided by 3. That fraction bar is technically a division symbol. So we could rewrite it as 6 divided by 3, which we do know to be 2. Now, if we were going to look at this in a picture form, it would absolutely help you to be able to see what's going on. Fractions represent part of a whole. The denominator is what tells you how many pieces or parts there are in a whole. So for instance, this 6/3 here, if I were to draw something out and I were to cut it into 3 pieces, then there are 3 pieces that make a whole. So that's what the 3 represents. The numerator tells you how many of those size pieces you have. So if I had 6 of them, this would be 1, 2, 3. I would have to have another whole one with 4, 5, 6. And so 6 of those pieces that were cut into thirds represents 2 entire pies or pizzas or whatever it is that you want to call it. So that's what's really going on there. Okay, now something else that I want to remind you about before we get started working examples is that if you have 0 on top in the numerator, 0 divided by anything is always 0. Now, you cannot divide by 0. That is not allowed. So anything divided by 0 is what we call undefined.